Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Something disturbing coming down the pipeline at Rutgers University. They are going to have a seminar that's smacks of Hinduphobia. I have two guests joining me here. Let's first welcome the guests, Nikunj Trivedi and Hitesh Trivedi ji. Namaskar. How are you?
Namaskar, namaskar.
So Nikunj is the president of COHNA and Hitesh Trivedi ji is the Rutgers University Hindu Chaplain. This event is happening on the 27th of October at the Rutgers campus. From all looks of it, it appears to have been a university sanctioned event, which means it is based on your money and my money, our taxpayer money. Nikunj, how did you come to know of it and your initial thoughts? And then I'll like the chaplain of Rutgers University, Hindu chaplain of Rutgers University, to weigh in on it. Over to you.
Yeah, no, thank you again, as always, for jumping on this and having a call with us. I think it's really important for us to contextualize this a little bit. First of all, there was a report released by this Rutgers Center, and I think this past summer, they released this report that talked about, the title of this this upcoming event, sort of Hindutva, a threat to American equality and pluralism, etc., where they accused US-based Hindu organizations, a whole bunch of them, of basically running a ethno-nationalist, Hindu supremacist movement that is oppressing Muslims, oppressing minorities, oppressing Sikhs, Dalits, Adivasis, the entire, you name it. It's like an alphabet soup of everybody else being oppressed, right? So, and we are responsible for funding the violence in India, et cetera, et cetera. And then they have 5 recommendations, okay? And people can find that information. We did a tweet out there. So if you go to @COHNA official, we have put out some information about it. There are 5 recommendations. I think without going into all 5, the most egregious ones is what I want to focus on. So number 1, they are asking for a federal investigation against Hindu organizations. Okay, number 1. Second, they're asking that the US government make sure that these organizations register under FARA, which is Foreign Agent Reporting Act, as you know, Foreign Agent Registration Act. American Hindu organizations, on the accusation that we are somehow agents of the of the Indian government. Okay, as ridiculous as that is, but that is what they want to do. The third, which is probably the most dangerous one, I feel, is to ask the US government to revoke the visas or deny entry to anybody who is, quote unquote, accused of working with Indian government, a foreign agent of, and also accused of funding violence against minorities in India. Now, this is a very dangerous thing, and I'll tell you why. For 2 reasons. Number 1 is they decide what that means. So this group of elite sort of Hinduphobes decides what that really means, number 1. Number 2, it silences and targets Hindu students on campus. There are a lot of students on campus. There's 7,000 Indian Americans / I would say maybe out of that, maybe 6,000 something Hindu students on campus. Many of them are from India. They're just here on studying. They're celebrating. They organize things, and they are concerned about how their rights are being done, how their rights are being portrayed, etc. So anyone who speaks up against Hindu human rights, anybody who speaks up on these caste policies that are being used to target and profile the community, anybody who speaks out on Hinduphobia, it's automatically considered Hindutva, and automatically considered, Hindutva in a sense of the word that they're using, right? And automatically subject to target and recommendation that the US government go after them. Now, the question here is, when you look at this, is this actually happening at a university? Universities are supposed to be centers of academic excellence, debates, things like that, not a place like, where you're recommending sanctions and, prohibition of these entries to legitimate Hindu organizations that have nothing to do with peddling hate in India and things like that. So this is the context. And imagine you're a parent of a student who's going to Rutgers, who's very active. Okay. Imagine if you are a Hindu student who's concerned about Hinduphobia, caste. Recently, Rutgers tried to pass a caste policy. It was rejected by the administration, but these people tried to do that, vehemently doing it, accusing Hinduism of being, the source of problems, many things like that. And then they want to define how Hinduism is. What is Hinduism according to them? And when majority Hindu organizations and majority Hindus want to define it, they only go after one definition. The definition by an anti-Hindu group, such as Sadhana or Hindus for Human Rights. It's right on there. And finally, one of the other things to keep in mind, and this is where the issue comes in, they accuse people saying that, oh, these groups do yoga to whitewash their sort of violence. Okay, so yoga is now considered a tool of Hindu extremists. Then they say, oh, they are by saying that Hitler never used the swastika, he used the Hakenkreuz. These people are trying to whitewash the links between Hitler and swastika, and the hints between Hitler and these Hindu supremacists. So there's some really egregious and dangerous information in this report. I mean, people can laugh it off and stuff like that, but if you read this report, you start to see the type of false information, but also the dangerous rhetoric that is inside the report. And this event is going to legitimize that report, because you can laugh it off and say, oh, some department is doing it. No. It has the Rutgers logo. It has the Rutgers symbol. And now it's actually being held on campus at Rutgers University in New Brunswick on October 27th. So I'll stop here and let Hitesh Bhai talk about it.
Thank you so much, Nikunj. Hitesh Trivedi ji, you are the Hindu chaplain at Rutgers University. And Rutgers University has a very big student body, not just from the state of New Jersey and United States, but also from India. I know that this is one of the more sought after universities. Tell us a little bit about the mood on the campus, and what do you think led up to this decision to have this kind of a blatant Hinduphobic event? Over to you, sir.
Okay, great. So yes, Rutgers has one of the largest Hindu populations in the country. So the only thing is, we're not as active. We're not political. So many of our students come here to study and work, but they don't go into the school politics that's happening, any new different policies that they want to present. Many of them are also from India. So if they get involved with that, they believe that they'll be deported if they say something wrong. So there's a lot of fear going on among students. Now, with this type of a report that comes out, students are afraid to speak up for their own rights, because they feel that if they do speak up, they can be accused of something and they can lose their scholarship. So there's been a lot of turmoil when it comes to students who should be active, who should say something. This is where the Hindu chaplaincy comes in. We're looking to get them as much support and as much support from our community, so they know what their rights are and they know that what they can say and what they can't say. They can't deport me. I'm an American citizen. I've been here most of my life. I actually am a graduate of Rutgers too. But the mood has been scary. Is what it is. So, for example, when they tried to pass the caste bill at Rutgers earlier this year, basically, if you serve vegetarian food at your party, you are a casteist, and you get automatically accused of being a right-wing Hindu fascist. So these are narratives that are coming out of universities and out of the people in charge, and many times it's professors who are pushing this. So how do you argue with a professor and get a bad grade? How do you argue with administration and fear reprisal? So this is, we haven't had representation at Rutgers all these years. I went to Rutgers almost 40 years ago. And there, back then we didn't have to worry about all this. Now there is a lot to worry about. The kids don't have representation. That's why I took it upon myself and a couple of other people to create a Hindu chaplaincy at Rutgers, so we can be a voice for students to the administration. And with this coming, this is a very serious matter. And it's being done by a group that's targeted not just Hindus, but it's also targeted Israelis and Jewish people. So there's been a lot of negativity that's come out under the Rutgers name against two minorities that are some of the most successful and peaceful minorities out there.
Yeah. Thank you so much. And Hitesh ji, this is really disheartening, because all the universities, especially if you join a bachelor's program coming from India, right? The academic standards is a fairly step up. Where the children who come from India, they are not used to the kind of rigor that you face here. For example, you don't have choice questions. Every exam, every question has to be answered. I'm as simple as that. A unit test, any question and every question has to be answered. And the professor reserves the right to hold a quiz even on the first day of class. I've seen these things happen. They may not grade you for it, but they want to find out the level of the class. They'll say, here, take this quiz, and I want to find out where each of you say, especially on some of those exotic topics. All I'm trying to say is these children are entering into a very high pressure cooker environment. And unfortunately, what happens is, even though they may be keeping their heads down and studying, they get singled out on the campus because there is a, you saw what happened post October 7, 2023 to Jewish American students and Jewish students in general. And they got singled out. I don't know how these people have these databases and stuff like that. Be that as it may, what is the need for Rutgers University to undertake this kind of an exercise, especially since this professor has been slapped around quite a bit. There was a lawsuit against us. He somehow managed to escape out of that. But why keep doing this thing? Why keep raking this thing up? Nikunj, your thoughts, and then I'll defer to you, Hitesh.
See, the in America, academic freedom has been given a lot of freedom, right? So there's a lot of huge leeway of what can be considered academic freedom. So every time somebody wants to target a community or target a group of people, they can use their institutional mechanism to target them. So in this particular situation, after all the nonsense, Audrey Truschke got tenure. Okay. Now it's amazing that you could be basically an activist professor and spew out a lot of this hate against an entire community and then be promoted. Okay. So in academia, you have this real problem of ideological, activist driven agenda versus academic excellence. So that's where the problem comes in. So when you have an agenda, when you have deep hatred against the community, you use your institutional setting to target that community. And that is what is happening at Rutgers. So she's using, I went to Rutgers, did my undergrad MBA, was very active on campus. And I can tell you, even before 2017, 2018, none of this existed on campus. Okay. It was only after one particular person showed up and it started to create a lot more on the ground stuff going on. So I would say 7 years ago or something, 7-8 years ago, we didn't really have this problem. Rutgers, I used to love going to Rutgers. I used to love enjoying the, sort of like making sure our Hindu identity is expressed there. There was a lot of support. And that doesn't mean it doesn't exist today. Just to be very clear, students still are able to do things, etc. But the problem is it becoming increasingly hard for people to do anything that is expressing their identity and standing up for their rights. That's where the difference comes in. See, if you're doing Bollywood, if you're doing Bhagra Garba, like things like that, maybe Garba might be nowadays considered oppressive, whatever, those types of things. But let's say you're doing fun and social
invent anything.
Yeah.
Invent anything, Nikunj.
It's an upper caste. It's an upper caste of Brahminical, tyrannical, whatever dance. Like that's how they'll start to portray it. But anyways, the point I'm trying to make is, as long as you stay in that lane and not venture into, let's say, Hindus were persecuted in Bangladesh. Hindus were attacked in Pahalgam, whatever the case is, and you start to create those vigils. This to start to create a uproar on that. Temples in America being attacked. You start to raise concerns about that. Somebody decides to put a caste policy or tries to lobby for a caste policy on campus. You're standing up against that. In this report, it tells you that Hindu nationalists, aka all these groups and organizations, are promoting caste discrimination by standing against caste policies, and therefore they're advancing violence against Dalits and minorities and things like that. I mean, that's very twisted argument, but because it's given the academic shelter and the Rutgers University logo and Rutgers University name, they are getting away with academic freedom. But I can tell you, this is not an academic exercise. It's not a paper that there are debates going on, and it's also not a fair thing. If Rutgers wanted to do this, okay, you know what? You have one person doing the event. Let's call someone on the other side to respond. If you are accusing organizations, so the organizations have an opportunity to respond. Now, on campus, just so you know, they have accused the Hindu Students Council and Hindu Yuva. Both have been active on campus, doing amazing events on campus for years. HSC at Rutgers was founded in 1993. Okay? So many years ago, HSC was founded on campus and it has been doing great work on campus. And all of a sudden, these people are now targeting these two organizations and saying that these are the people who are advancing ethno-nationalist supremacist agenda and supporting violence against minorities in India. Like, what? You know, in 30 years, there's 7 different generations of college students that have gone through a Hindu Students Council chapter on campus. Okay? And they are saying all of these kids are brainwashed and groomed by some foreign force out there to create this idea that they're a threat to American equality and pluralism. I mean, it's like, when I'm talking, it's hard for me to even talk about these words because they just are so dangerous. But that's the way it is. And if you remember, to finish my point, in 2021, dismantling Global Hindutva Conference, we talked about this back in 2021 also.
Yes.
The problem here is that in this report, they claim that Hindutva is not the same as Hinduism, Hinduism is not the same as Hindutva. But their own people, including Professor Audrey Truschke's mates, who are part of this South Asian Scholarship Collective, right? They were the ones who are on record saying that Hindutva is nothing different than Hinduism. And therefore, if you have a problem with Hindutva, you have a problem with Hinduism. And this is on record. So when they say that Hindutva and Hinduism are different, they're liars. Because they themselves say that Hindutva and Hinduism are the same. So now if you're talking about Hindutva being a danger, that means Hinduism is a danger. And then on top of that, in 2021, they had a communist speaker that said that Hinduism is a danger to universal brotherhood and peace. Also on record. So when they start to say, oh, but we're not attacking Hinduism, that's total garbage and total lies. And we have to call it for as is.
Hitesh ji, you are right in the eye of the storm here. It's not easy to be a chaplain where children are probably seeking guidance from you. Tell us a little bit about the atmosphere on the campus.
So the atmosphere is, let's start with the parents, right? The parents basically send their kids to get an education. And the parents say, don't get involved with too many things, beta, just get good grades and everything will take care of itself if you get a good job. There should be nothing to worry about. The kids come here, they realize that's not the case. That's not true. They need to do something. But how do they do it? As Nikunj mentioned earlier, academic freedom allows the professors and their departments to say and do what they need to do, what they want to do, without any repercussions. Why is there no repercussion? Because the parents here do not say anything. They will not rise up and voice themselves. We've had two chairmen of the board of trustees at Rutgers who are of Indian descent and of Hindu descent. None of them spoke up. So when you have administration and you have people in position of power to stick up for the students and they don't do it, it becomes hard for the kids to say, well, why should we fight it? Why do we need to go out and stick our necks out and lose our jobs? You know, they can call our employer and say, this guy's part of so-and-so group. And if you read the report, that group is, a terrorist linked group. It's linked to India. It's linked to Hindu fascism. So is it worth it for them to lose their job offers for that? So they're afraid of that. So there's a lot that they don't want to say and do because of repercussions, and there's nothing there to help them. There's nobody there to help them. You know, the Hindu chaplaincy has been here for a few years, but it's just now starting to get active and do work and go to regular meetings and go to the other chaplaincies are paid positions. We are all volunteers. So the paid positions, and they have centers, they have their own buildings, and they have their own programs. So it's been a challenge for the chaplaincy, but the kids are coming around. The kids are slowly recognizing that they do need solidarity. They do need somebody. They themselves, as youngsters, are not in a fight for themselves. There will be somebody who will back them up. They also know that the administration is, no matter what you do, they're not going to see it, because without any power, you can't. You know, there's that poem, Shakti or Shama. You know, without strength, you cannot forgive anybody, because if you have less strength and you forgive somebody, it doesn't matter. There's no power behind your forgiveness. So they know that. So they're starting to realize it and starting to. I talked to a leader of one of the Hindu youth groups at Rutgers. I talked to him today, just about an hour ago, and he said yes, he's on board for what we're looking to do. So as we're going to look to gather forces, gather letters, gather signatures, gather people to fight back, they're in on it. Slowly but surely, we have to win them over, but we have to win them over by supporting them. And it can't be a one-time support; it has to be a long-term support.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Hitesh ji. And viewers, what can you as a viewer do? It doesn't matter where you are. This is targeted. This is targeted at Sanatana Dharma. This is targeted at Hinduism. This is targeted, when it's convenient, Hindutva and Hinduism are one and the same. When it is not, they are different. And this person is basically a cheat, in my book at least. And it has a few people motivated. Who knows where the motivation comes from? And if you look at the panelists also, a very dubious set of people. I mean, I'm using my freedom of speech to comment on what their record is, and they are going to try and do this thing in every campus. So get ahead of this one. We all have to unite. This is not where our taxpayers' dollars should be spent. So viewers, if you could write to your local congressman and senator saying that we are in receipt of this information, we will put the links to all this stuff in our description section. You can copy paste that and tell them we are very uncomfortable about what is happening. This is a blatant case of Hinduphobia, and write to them and follow up. And this needs to be known. This is just not the right way to do. Thank you so much, Nikunj. Thank you so much, Hitesh ji. And we'll be following this thing very closely. Hopefully this event gets cancelled. That's the best hope. But we don't know what else is going to happen. But at least the least they can do is to invite somebody from the other side, like you said, Nikunj, to get their point of view. Otherwise, this is a blatant Hinduphobia event. Thank you once again.
Yeah, and just sorry, my apologies, but I just want to make sure that we say that we don't want the event to be canceled. What we want is we want Rutgers University to remove its name and logo from the event. If crazy people want to do crazy things, they can do this. But institutional sanction is what we are against. So if Rutgers University is serious about diversity, inclusion, and safety of students, etc., and advancing academic excellence, it will remove its association from this event. Otherwise, they are just, being hypocrites about their values and culture.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Hitesh ji. Namaskar.
Namaskar.
Thank you.